2 scores community engagement, but also on volunteers. Does any of the other festivals work with mutual obligation with Centrelink? No, okay. Very briefly, over 55 job seekers, instead of applying for any jobs, they can do 15 hours of work, voluntary work. So you as an organisation, you apply to Centrelink, you get a provider number, and then anyone that is over 55 can use your provider number to do their 15 hours a week. Now, one of the folk festivals in Queensland is actually using it all year round for their secretary. There's a whole travelling public, all the grey nomads that go around to film festivals and music festivals and so on. So, and they will happily volunteer their 15 hours over the course of your festival. So, something to look into.
Jo Creswell, Artistic Direction, this festival. I want to offer a comment and a question. So years ago we had 2 festival organisers conferences, and one of the great things to come out of that was that every festival gave 2 tickets to the director and someone from any other festival. And it just meant that we kept that dialogue going. But just on a small note, there's no reason why every festival here perhaps couldn't have some kind of forum during their festival that does bring together organisers or people who need ideas. We can all be contributing to the changing nature of the festival and folk industry in Australia. But I just wanted to direct a question to Judy Turner, because I've heard from one of your performers that you had a very good model that you handed to them to actually publicise the festival. You gave them a platform of information and photos that made it easy for you and for them to get the message out to like-minded people.
Our designer, she created tiles, so a lot of it was done by social media, is that what you're talking about? But we also had a paid publicist who arranged interviews for people on radio, as most festivals probably do. But we had a great social media volunteer and a great designer, and I think basically they created a kit of different tiles, which was our branding, their images. We sent them to the musicians and asked them to promote our festival through their social channels.
I'm Michael Hodgkins. I'm from the far north Queensland. We run Roman and I, director and program director for the Yungaburra, the Tablelands Folk Festival held in Yungaburra. We're celebrating our 43rd festival, our 42nd in Yungaburra this year. We're the longest running folk festival in Queensland. I took this on 12, 13 years ago, and I went round to every business house in Yungaburra and asked them how they could improve the festival for us and how we can improve the festival for them. And we now went from 3 venues, 3 stages, to 11 stages. We make a surplus every year. We have our own portable office that we transport to our venues. We also can loan those out to not-for-profit organisations as well, and that includes them in what we're doing. We bring artists up early to promote in local festivals, Jacaranda Festival, etc., where we can put our artists in there. But our main mantra has always been not to have a bigger festival, but a better festival. And that's how we've improved ours. If it's better, it gets bigger automatically. Thank you.
Hello, and hello. My name is Paul Robertson. I produce the Northern Beaches Music Festival. We've been going since 2011. Also involved with the Shack. And there are 7 music clubs on the Northern Beaches who are involved in our festival. Humph Hall, The Fig, Fairlight Folk, Songs on Stage, Music Lounge and Acoustic Picnic. Yeah. We raise our money by, we get a small grant from the council, and then we use our folk clubs to raise money through concerts. And then we also make money out of food stalls and merchandise stalls. Our festival is very small. We get about 3,000 people over 2 days. 50 acts on 5 stages in 2 days. How about that? Wow. Our aim is to provide a venue for musicians and performing artists, especially these days after COVID, which has been really hard on all of us. We also like to reach out to our community, all the subculture groups in our community. We like them, the Serbians to come and dance, you know, the Peruvians to come and dance. We like dance. We have 3 ticketed stages, 1 free stage for the community, which we've found is a good thing to do to help pay the food stalls and stuff, because we're on Narrabeen Lakes, which is beautiful. People just go through automatically and stop and watch and eat, and so that rewards our food stalls. We also go into our community to every business we can find and try and get them involved, as well as putting up our posters, because Northern Beaches is quite a big council area from Manly to Palm Beach, and so you've got to put up a lot of information, and since the death of the Manly Daily, it's been very difficult to get people to know who we are. We've got a good website. We have Wayne Richmond from Humph Hall who helps us with the website. We have about 50 volunteers. We have in the past have had to raise about 25 grand to put it on, and then we sell tickets, and that's what we pay the artists with. We raise about $12,000 to $15,000 worth of money through ticket sales, and that's what we pay the artists with. And we tell them, if we don't sell all the tickets, then you get a percentage less, and that's the only way we can get it on. In the city, it's a lot different than in a regional area. You can get a lot closer community ties in a regional area than you can in the big nasty city.
Less people, though.
Oh yeah, far less people. Yeah, but it's always a challenge. Love the idea of forums. Love the idea of getting together and discussing what's going on and interchange of information. What else can I say? That's about it. Thank you for listening.
I'll try to keep this short and sweet, but yeah, as each of you spoke, almost everybody I think made either a direct or indirect reference to either ageing audiences, ageing workforce, or otherwise relative lack of young people kind of getting involved and getting engaged in a more meaningful kind of way. And I noticed when we had the forum last year, I think there were maybe 5 or 6 of us in the room that I could identify as being under 35, maybe even under 40. We have a few more this year, but I would have hoped certainly to see more than we have had here today still. And so I don't want this to be seen as inflammatory or kind of pointing any fingers or anything like that, but I want to know in earnest, what do you guys think, anybody who wants to answer, what do you guys think we can do to actually get younger people more engaged and part of the whole structure of making this scene more sustainable, both in the audience part of things and the organisational part of things?
It's a very good question, and I've just turned 70 this year, and if I look around our board, the Illawarra Folk Club, I don't think there's anyone under 60. But this year, last year it was, we purposely went out there and sought 3 young dynamic people in our local community who are under 30, and they're now been trained into management roles. They didn't know what folk was, they've embraced it, they love it. I think this is the way of the future. We have to get younger people more connected with the current modern folk music on the boards and working for us. And it's just been a revelation seeing these 3 young people come on board with us.
One of the difficulties in getting young people on board is that they have so many other things that they do. And sometimes when they come onto a committee or a group, they can be a bit overwhelmed because they don't understand what might be expected of them. And I think I agree with Graham that one of the things that we really do need to do is bring those young people on and give them a lot of support, and don't expect them to just take on the big roles straight away, but give them manageable things to do. And a lot of the young people as well who are involved are also performers in their own right, and they want to get involved because they perform the music or they're dancers or whatever, but when they sort of see the other side of it, as I said, they sometimes get frightened off. So I think the idea of bringing them on, mentoring them, training them, pairing them up with people because, you know, we are all getting pretty old. And, yeah, sure.
Malden's got one young person on the committee. But the problem with the smaller festival is not that we can't get the young people involved, it's that you need an independent income to be able to actually run a festival because they're not paid enough. So we're aiming to get the director paid 2 days a week. We're aiming at 30,000. Now, the young person's not going to take that on because they can't buy a house, can't pay the rent at that rate. So for sustainability and longevity, we really need to be able to pay our directors a living wage, and then we'll get the young people on. Because you can't say, oh good, you can go and work 9 to 5, no problem. Oh look, you need to play your instrument. And all right, now you've got about 30 hours a week to do a festival.
The reason older people, like many of us, get involved is because we suddenly have the time to be able to do it if we're not being paid. But I do agree with the paid thing. But there's a sort of, you know, there's the small festivals, and you know, probably none of them can afford to pay anyone except the performers. And you know, we're also working really hard to pay performers properly, let alone, you know, our staff. And then we've got the next level, and so on and so on. So, but as you know, the bigger festivals obviously can pay people, but it is a problem and something that we need to solve.
We're a very small festival, but we put almost as much money into paying contractors, most of whom were under 40 this year, as we did to paying musicians, and they were equally important to us. And I think we realised that if you want young people's energy, ideas and brilliance, you need to pay, because they're mostly putting together portfolio careers, you know, with some paid music and some paid tree climbing in Mish's case and some paid sound and whatever else they're doing, and you need to be part of that mix. And so I think as long as I'm leading this festival, we will keep prioritising paying young people to do stuff that we can't do.
I'm really glad that at this point in time, half of our board at the National Folk Festival is under 40 years of age. And I think I say that because it is actually, you know, that's quite something. And one of the things that comes out of some of the conversations that we have about this is that we need to create environments that young people want to come to, that they feel their personality and their creativity is able to be shared and explored, and that they're not put down when they do that. And one of the things that's happened, and I'm going to be very clear, this is my personal view, this is not a view of the National Folk Festival, its board, its staff or anyone else, is that when we do bring some of those things into our folk festivals, some of what I will call our more traditional audiences shun it. And they try to send it away and they say, that's not folk, that's not part of this festival and that shouldn't be here. And that needs to stop, because that is stopping our young people from coming to these festivals, it is stopping people from coming to the National Folk Festival. And what they're doing instead is they're going and they're setting up their own events out there where their creativity can be explored and there aren't rules and restrictions put around them. I'm not saying I've got all the solutions yet, but we need to create that and allow newer and contemporary things to come into these events so that people feel that they can be reflected here.
I'm Robin Dyer from Townsville Folk Festival. Prior to this year we were the Palm Creek Folk Festival, but we moved locations, so we eventually changed our name. We've got lots of challenges this year. Our festival is the 8th to the 11th of June. And one of our issues is around insurance, and I just wondered whether anybody else has had problems with insurance.
I hate to say that we have to finish, and we've just touched what is a huge issue. It does point to the need for maybe communication routes between us all, in between the festivals, and maybe that's something we should look at. I want to thank you all again for coming. I want to thank our festival directors who've stimulated so much fabulous discussions.